You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. Now turn to Part 1. Part 1.
In a moment, you're going to listen to a conversation in which 2 friends are talking about the preparations for the inauguration of their perfume shop. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen to the conversation and answer questions 1 to 4.
Hi Jennifer, how are you? Welcome to our new venture into the world of perfumes.
I am good, Cyrus. So have you completed all the documentation with the owner of the shop space?
Yeah, it's almost done, Jennifer. Our landlord has just signed the agreement. The work on the shop interiors is almost done. So, we could begin the work in the shop by this weekend.
And here is my part. You asked me to get an advertisement published in the local newspapers. That's done. I've even made the required payments.
Thanks, dear. Our stocks have arrived. I've carefully stocked all the perfume bottles in my apartment for the time being.
I've always wanted to open a perfume shop since my college days. It's like a dream come true. I love the different fragrances. I feel they give us happiness.
You're right, Jennifer. This is the way we can spread happiness. You know, I too have made a detailed study into perfumes. I myself love using all the major national and international brands.
So you have finally completed your thesis on perfumes. That's news for me. I sometimes really wonder where the art of making perfumes evolved from. I hope you have some idea.
Certainly, I know. It began from Mesopotamia and Egypt, but in those times, fragrances were incense-based. People used cardamom, almonds, herbs, conifer resin, but not flowers to prepare their perfumes.
Cyrus, if I'm not wrong, your name is similar to a perfume called cypress?
That's right. It is the world's oldest perfume. And this is the reason I'm so sweet-smelling.
Stop praising yourself, Cyrus.
Okay. Have you heard of a Persian doctor who first began to extract oil from flowers? Rose was the first flower that he used. All perfumes had crushed petals in them, and rosewater was widely used as a perfume at that time.
Are these perfume oils used directly?
No, these oils are diluted with a solvent because highly concentrated rose oil can cause allergies if applied directly. However, with the increase in the percentage of aromatic material, the perfume's longevity and intensity also increases. So the manufacturers have to ensure an optimum balance of the concentration and resulting aroma.
Before the conversation continues, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 5 to 10.
I have read that there are different categories of perfumes. Is that so?
Yes, Jennifer. The perfumes are categorized according to their dominant scent, like floral, woody, ambery, oceanic, citrus, etc.
I've even heard that lavender and rose were the most widely used fragrances in ancient times.
You have heard absolutely right, Jennifer. This was probably because such a wide range was not available in those times. Today, international brands like Gucci, Christian Dior, Giorgio Armani, Tommy Hilfiger and Chanel are introducing new fragrances daily.
You know, my favourites are Pure Poison and Addict by Christian Dior.
Yeah, I certainly know. I remember gifting you Pure Poison on your birthday.
Have you bought well-known brands also for the shop? I hope you remember we decided this last Tuesday.
Certainly, Jennifer. Our shop will have the rarest of perfumes. I bought my collection from Dubai.
Good. Do you know that your choice of perfume projects the characteristics of your basic nature as well?
That's right. If you have a bold self, you'll definitely go for a wild and loud fragrance. And if you're meek and innocent, you'll definitely choose a fragrance that's sweet and light.
Cyrus, from where is the musk fragrance extracted?
These days, musks are not derived from deer musks. They are synthetic and prepared in factories.
One more thing. Next time you go to purchase the stock, pick a few perfumes for aromatherapy spa salons. They are in great demand these days.
Yeah, you are right there. That's why I even bought some of them, but next time I'll buy a few based on herbs like rosemary, clove and sandalwood. They'll sell like hotcakes.
So by tomorrow evening we need to set up our shop and we begin on Saturday morning.
Yes, I'll ask the carpenters to wind up with the work today.
Who's going to inaugurate our shop?
I have invited one of the spa owners to inaugurate our shop. We will even gift him a Saint Laurent's perfume.
That is the end of part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to part 2. Part 2.
In a moment, you will hear a monologue about whales. First, you have some time to look at the questions 11 to 15. Now listen to the first part of the monologue and answer the questions 11 to 15.
Hello, students. A very good afternoon to all of you. Last Saturday, you were asking me about whales. Today, I am going to tell you all about them in this lecture. Whales are large, magnificent, and intelligent aquatic animals belonging to the category of cetaceans. Even though they are fish, they do not breathe using gills. Instead, they have blowholes in their lungs. They breathe air through these blowholes. They are the only mammals other than sea cows that live their entire lives in water, and the only mammals that have adapted to life in the open ocean. I'd like to tell you that like other mammals, whales breathe air into lungs, have hair, are warm-blooded, have mammary glands to nourish young ones, and have a 4-chambered heart. Talking of their size, the longest whale is the blue whale, which grows up to about 94 feet, 29 meters in length, which is approximately the height of a 9-story building. In fact, it is believed to be the largest animal that exists on the earth. Going into further details, let me tell you that there are different types of whales found on this planet. The smallest whale is called the dwarf sperm, which measures only 8.5 feet, 2.6 meters in length, when it grows into an adult. There are mainly 2 categories of cetaceans, Odontoceti and Mysticeti. The Odontoceti, or tooth whales, are predators that use their peg-like teeth to catch fish, squid, and marine mammals, swallowing them whole. There are 66 species of toothed whales. Other than this, the Mysticeti, or baleen whales, are predators that sieve tiny crustaceans, small fish, and other tiny organisms from water with baleen. Baleen whales are larger than the toothed whales. There are 10 species of baleen whales. The killer whales and short-fin pilot whales are the fastest swimmers among all the different types of whales found in the world, swimming up to 30 miles per hour, 48 kilometers per hour. Water whales indulge in what we call breaching. Breaching is being acrobatic and jumping high out of the water and then slapping back on the water as the whale comes down. It is not purely for pleasure. It helps to loosen skin parasites. Whales indulge in spy hopping, lobtailing, and logging in water.
Before you listen, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Listen to the second part of the monologue and answer questions 16 to 20.
Let us discuss the aspect of migration. These whales, especially baleen whales, migrate over very long distances every year. They travel sometimes in a group called a pod, from cold water feeding grounds to warm water breeding grounds. Grey whales make the longest seasonal migration of any of the whales. They travel about 12,500 miles each year. Students, it's remarkably interesting to study the social behaviour of whales. They have strong social ties. The strongest social ties are between the mother and the calf. As I mentioned earlier, that a social group of whales is called a pod. Baleen whales travel in small pods. The toothed whales travel in large pods. They hunt their prey in groups, migrate together, and share the burden of caring for their young ones. These whales give birth to live young ones. They do not lay eggs. They nourish them with milk. All whales breed seasonally, usually in warm tropical waters, and females have one calf every 1 to 3 years. The gestation time is between 9 to 18 months. Whale calves can swim at or soon after birth. Mother whales care for their young ones for an extended period of time, usually at least a year, feeding them with milk and protecting them. Another important feature is the whale songs which can be heard for miles underwater. The humpback song can last for 30 minutes. Baleen whales sing low-frequency songs, but toothed whales emit whistles. These songs help them to attract their mates, to keep track of offspring, and for toothed whales to locate their prey. The baleen whales have baleen plates instead of teeth, and use them to filter tiny organisms like krill and small fish from water. They use their tongue to dislodge food from the baleen and swallow it. Baleen is made of keratin, the same protein that our hair and nails are made of. The extinct whales, like Archaeoceti and Basilosaurus, were the earliest known Eocene period whales about 50 million years ago. Fossil remains indicate that whales evolved from hoofed land mammals like hyena or Ambulocetus, an extinct mammal the size of a sea lion. Its limbs allowed it to swim and also support it on land. It had long, powerful jaws with sharp teeth. Today, many whale species are in danger of becoming extinct. Most baleen whales are listed as endangered. If we talk of whale extremes, the biggest whale is the blue whale, as I mentioned earlier in the lecture. The whale having the largest tooth is the sperm whale, which is about 50 feet long and weighs 43 tons. Orca is the deadliest whale. They eat food equal to 3 to 4% of their body weight each day. They swallow their prey. That's it for today. Tomorrow we'll have a small presentation by Jackie on baleen whales.
That is the end of part 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Part 3. Part 3.
Now listen to a conversation between three friends who are meeting in a park and are talking about nutrition. The three friends are named Mac, Shelley, and Smith. First, you have some time to look at the questions 21 to 25. Now listen to the first part of the conversation and answer the questions 21 to 25.
Hi Shelley, how are you?
Oh, Mac, it's nice to see you after all these weeks. A great change.
Oh really? What kind of change have you seen?
Hi Mac, what's up?
Nice to meet you, Smith. How's everything?
Oh, fine.
Well, Smith, what do you say about Mac? He looks different, doesn't he?
No doubt, dear, but I think you are not aware about his rigorous workouts these days.
Oh come on dear, workouts alone do not do much. What matters more is the diet you supplement them with.
That's true, dear. I read an article on whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and their importance in our diet. Ideally, we must take as much as 2 to 4 servings of fruits and 5 to 7 servings of vegetables. Also, it is very important to eat whole grains, which may be in the form of bread, rice, pasta, or cereals. Having a diet chart is indispensable.
Very true, Smith. Besides, having a diet chart is also necessary to maintain one's weight. A healthy weight measure for a person depends on several factors like a person's age, height, and sex, period. Besides taking care of what to eat and how to do physical activities, another important question is how much one should eat and how regularly.
Means?
Let me explain. It is normally recommended that the food guide pyramid be referred to in order to obtain information about different food items and serving sizes. For example, an ideal serving of cooked meat equals 3 ounces.
Another important factor that affects one's diet plan is the habit of skipping meals. In case one skips a meal, it can often lead to a more uncontrolled hunger, which ultimately results in overeating.
Okay, I didn't know about that. Well, I also keep eating in between meals and can't resist potato chips and other fast food items. Perhaps this is why I keep putting on weight in spite of exercising. I must stop eating junk food.
Well, it's not necessary to completely eliminate some of our routine food items from our daily diet, if these are rich in fats, but the best approach is to take these in moderate proportions.
Have you heard about anorexia nervosa?
What's that?
I know, it is an eating disorder.
Yes, Mac is right.
What kind of an eating disorder is it?
Well, an anorexic person has a distorted body image. Sometimes an anorexic person starves himself to death.
Really? How strange. Why would somebody do that? And what is body image?
A psychiatrist could answer why anyone would do that. However, a distorted body image means that an anorexic would think that he is overweight, even when he is bone thin. Anorexics are terrified of gaining weight.
It's not as if they don't feel hungry. They suffer from extreme hunger pangs. In an anorexic condition, a person can lose 15% or more of his body weight. These people maintain strict exercise routines.
Before the conversation continues, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Listen to the second part of the conversation and answer questions 26 to 30.
But there are so many people who follow strict exercise routines. How would you then differentiate between an anorexic and a normal person?
There are certain symptoms that point to a person being anorexic. A person suffering from anorexia refuses to maintain a body weight that is consistent with his age, height, and build. For a person to be diagnosed as anorexic, it is essential that his body weight should be 85% or less than that which is considered typical of a person with a similar height, weight, and age.
Yes, Smith is right. The person then has a mortal fear of gaining weight. This fear will persist even till the time the person is on his deathbed due to starvation.
Anorexia is of two types, the binging eating type and the restricting type.
What is the difference between the two?
In the restricting type, the person restricts himself, reduces his food intake, and does not engage in binge eating.
In the binge eating type, the person self-induces vomit by use of laxatives, enemas, or diuretics.
Can anorexia happen to anyone?
It mostly takes place in adolescence and is more frequent in females than in males.
Well, you both have given me very valuable information. It really is important to have a healthy diet. I think if one knows about the dangers of excessive dieting, one can lose weight in a healthy manner.
Yes, I agree with you.
So do I.
That is the end of part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to part 4. Part 4.
Now listen to a lecture in an English literature class, in which the teacher is discussing the great metaphysical poet John Donne, and answer questions 31 to 40. You have some time to look at the questions 31 to 40. Now listen to the lecture and answer the questions 31 to 40.
Students, today I'd like to discuss John Donne, the greatest metaphysical poet of the Jacobean era. He was born in London in 1572 in a prosperous Roman Catholic family. He had inherited a considerable fortune after his father's death, but lost everything in womanizing, books, theatre and travels. But soon he began with a promising career in writing. Donne's style of writing was full of religious symbolism. His interest in drama and his intelligence established him as one of the greats of the era. When Donne's economic conditions started improving, his wife died. After that, he almost lost interest in the world of romanticism. He wrote poetry, holy sonnets, but the love songs were over. His early love, poetry, shows his wit, passion, and ability to love while being distrustful of women in general. His love poems include works like The Broken Heart, The Sun Rising, the here, the canonization, etc. He has ingeniously treated great themes, the conflict between spiritual piety and physical carnality as embodied in religion and love. The metaphysical content found in his work is shown through his jarring metaphors. For example, in a poem, he compares love to carnivorous fish. In another, he pleads God to make him pure by raping him. His works have two aspects, where he mixes the discourses of physical and spirituality. In his famous metaphysical love poem, A Valediction Forbidding Mourning, he tells his beloved that though he is going to leave her, their love would fill the gap between them just like gold stretches on beating. Their souls are attached in such a way that they would encircle the earth and reach each other even if they are physically apart. The poet's wit comes to his rescue when he composes a metaphysical work. Other than love poems, his works included some beautiful sonnets. His prose works ranks as high as his poetry. His sermons, almost 160 in all, are especially memorable for their imaginative explication of biblical passages and for their intense themes of divine love and decay of the body. Devotion upon emergent occasion is a powerful satire of meditation and prayers. In his poetry, John Donne has beautifully depicted the expressions of a man coming to terms with his own past and trying desperately to seek God's grace in this world, while always looking forward to the hope of heaven. For example, in his poem, Death Be Not Proud, he says that people are wrong calling death dreadful because death is peaceful and imparts long sleep. If a small time sleep can refresh you, then how can a long sleep like death be dreadful? It is just a long sleep during which you change your body and then wake eternally. Metaphysical literature has not received the attention that it deserved. Mostly, metaphysical literature is dismissed as absurd and nonsensical. However, to understand metaphysical works of people like John Donne, one needs to have an open mind and should be creative and willing to understand abstract concepts. Metaphysical poetry is an era in itself. John Donne has been one of the greatest poets of his time. He has very audaciously put forward his ideas. His imagination goes beyond the possible. The most remarkable aspect of his works is the astonishing ease with which he pens down his imagination. His works create a vivid picture in the mind and move on in a smooth flow. John Donne attacked the society with its corrupt legal system. He described disease, vomit, manure, sickness, to satirically talk about the prosperous society of his time. He also dealt with the problems of true religion. Donne said that we need to question our religious beliefs rather than blindly follow them. Some scholars divide him into two separate entities: Jack Donne, the witty lover, writer of love poems, and Dr. John Donne, the austere and almost prudish minister. But all the people who have read his works appreciate the excellent wordplay, extraordinary contrasts, deep psychoanalysis,